Right.
Okay, hello there, Saul.
Hello.
So, thank you so much for volunteering, not even being asked, but volunteering to come and tell your story about the pain that you've had, because you are passionate about helping other people as well.
Yeah, that's totally true. If anybody can get any kind of benefit from the story or things that I did wrong.
Well, you obviously did it right at some point, because
Yeah.
you're in a very different place now from when you were at the beginning. So maybe we could start off by letting us know, if you can explain what was your situation. I mean, first of all, when did your symptoms begin and how were they impacting your life?
It's quite a huge impact because it started in 2016 when I was driving back from work, and I had excruciating pain in my testicles.
Yeah.
And anybody who's seen a man kicked playing football, it is just insane.
Yeah.
So obviously I went to get it checked out and it was all fine. And I don't know what you call them now, the gum clinics. But then it was just getting worse. It was like, oh, it's grim. Like they were in a vice, and then a drilling in my pelvis. And then I often liken it to, you know, those at the seaside where you try and get a stuffed animal and those claws.
Oh, yes.
One of those going inside me, trying to part my organs. And I cannot express how painful that is every second of the day.
And was it constant right from that point?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So what I'm interested in actually, Saul, is the fact that it came on while you were driving, well, how were the doctors trying to explain it to you?
Well, it was a complete mystery because, I suppose it was aching a couple of weeks before, which coincidentally, I was splitting up with a girlfriend from a bad relationship.
I'm the what king. A coincidence!
Yeah, I'm the king of bad relationships.
Oh dear.
But yeah, and then when it was driving, I managed to drive myself to the hospital in this area, and then I was just saying, please, I need seen. I'm in so much pain. And then I passed out on the floor from the pain, and then they ring all the alarm bells and they just come and get you up, because first of all, somebody's saying you can't lie down there, and then other people going, he's not lying down, because it was like being, I can't express the pain. I don't want anybody to ever.
Yes. Yeah.
So then I was rushed, I don't know where, and I just remember being hooked into this machine, and they were just pumping me full of morphine. And I remember the nurse, because I'm out of it, but I always remember this, looking at the end of the bed, because they were going, the nurse was saying, he's in more pain, give him more. And whoever was operating the machine said, I can't give him any more, because they'd reached such a high level. And that was the first time. And I think I'd had, in trying to maintain life and keep on going, I think I'd had 4 or 5 different stays in A&E, and some were just terrible. But all the time they were doing scans and they couldn't find anything. And then they just decided that prostatitis would be a very, I don't know, what's the word, umbrella term.
Yes, useful diagnosis to label you with.
Yes, and I feel this is a problem, because I've been to urologists and they'll say that prostatitis can just be used for everything, and they don't really know what causes prostatitis with the pain, and everybody can be completely different. but I'm very young for it because it happened when I was like 35, 36.
Mm-hmm.
And in a book that Dr. Miles gave me, where it's Dr. Sarno,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson, and he's saying prostatitis in men is not, it's not a thing, it's a symptom.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
Yeah. And I ended up with 9 paramedic visits being pumped full of morphine in the back of an ambulance over a space of about 10 months.
Oh my goodness. So how were you in between those times?
Horrible.
So, well, it continued to be horrible. Were you able to continue functioning in your life?
It got to a point where I was working for one company and it just wasn't working. It was in a sales job. And if somebody's selling you something and they're looking pale and keeling over and sweating, I remember somebody said, "Oh, we were out drinking last night," and I was like, "No, it's just untameable. You just can't carry it on. It's just not possible."
And of course, because they couldn't find anything wrong, presumably apart from medication, there was nothing else they could do.
Well, yeah, and this is where it becomes to areas of things that happened that weren't necessary. So after about 18 months of this, and just for the sake of anybody who can be coming across this and suffering, because from your experience, you can empathize with that person. And many of your colleagues can. But for somebody who's been there and done it, it came to one just after Christmas time, I think late January, and it was unreal. I was trying to take my children to the pantomime, and when they have the rows of seats, when young children a few seats down were bouncing up and down, enjoying life, being happy, the shaking was just leaving me of the seats to absolute agony and leaving out of things and not being able to go anywhere or do anything. And at this point, I'd been given Oromorph, which isn't pleasant to have at home. And at one point, it just, the pain just broke. You know, it was like, what on earth can I do? This is what, 50, 60 years of my life. I was driving my mum to her work and, you know, saying horrible things like, when you think about it, because I was saying, I wish this was a terminal thing, so I know this would finish soon.
Oh, wow.
And it got to a point where I'd got the supply of Oromorph and was going to take it all in one go because, you know, at this point, there's financial problems when you're not working properly. You haven't got the quality of life. Even when your support structure can be quite good. These sometimes people get so upset for you that in a way that you feel like you're going to anger them because, and they're getting angry, not with you, but because they can't help you.
Yes, absolutely.
So it just led to me contacting 111, and I had a couple of days in a local psychiatric ward, which I don't recommend because it was horrible. It made it worse.
Yeah.
But then they would say later a diagnosis of being a pain outbreak. So if anybody was going through similar things, at least they can know that there is a hope at the end.
Yes.
That there's different things.
Absolutely.
Gradually they'll get there, and I'm very, very pleased. I didn't take the bottles, obviously.
Yes, absolutely.
But with other things that it's led to, I soon after that incident, I went to a pain management clinic, which was a very strange experience, and they didn't fully understand. And I had bilateral nerve injections, which didn't help. So it was another surgery. And then a few months after, I had something called a prostatic massage. And I've had 2 of those where, is it general anesthetic when you're knocked out?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So they have to knock you out because it's too painful.
Wow.
And squeeze the prostate. So there's been a lot of things happening which now in retrospect didn't need to happen because of it all.
But you were desperate to find an answer, and obviously they believed that it was going to help. Otherwise, it wouldn't have done.
Yeah, they believe. But even on a kind of just like a placebo effect, it didn't. So.
But sometimes, as you found, that's part of the journey to reach this point. And maybe if you'd met, I know it's one of our SIRPA trained practitioners, Dr. Peter Miles, maybe if you'd met Dr. Miles 2 years earlier, maybe you wouldn't have been ready for that at that point. Who knows?
Absolutely. And it's just from a societal point of view, that's a lot of money for the NHS.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes.
Isn't necessary.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. So how long was this? This went on until this year then? Was that 5 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Pretty much constant. Even on what I would call good days, it would be like if you've seen somebody play football being kicked and over their knees. And even if I was going food shopping and just you know, where the chillers where it's cold.
Yes.
That would start me off. And it was just so many different, like every painkiller under the sun. I remember one point I was having, I think I had to have 26 tablets in one day. And it just gets, you know, just what's happening to your life?
Yes. And how incredible that you did survive all that.
Yeah. I'm like a cockroach.
In what way?
I just keep on surviving everything. You know, when they say cockroaches can survive a nuclear attack, I just keep on going.
As long as nobody just stamps on them.
No. I'll try not. But I was lucky that I found with my background here where I could do the teaching from home, and I think that was perhaps more effective than the treatments. But even then, I remember where I can see my drawer now where I work, it would just be, there must be a lot of videos of me just constantly taking tablets and whatever to maintain, and always having to cancel lessons. And it's a good job.
Yeah,
the students liked me.
Yes, absolutely. So what caused the change then, Saul?
Well, it was, again, I'd moved house because this was just financially better where I am. And then just once again, so it was early in the year, February, March, actually not long ago when you think about it.
No,
wow.
This year, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I was just talking to a friend, and my voice didn't have this tone and cadence. It was, you know, just always being on the sofa and just complete agony and trying to, I can't even watch a movie, or when friends were coming around and say, oh, what's up, Saul? And I'm trying to stretch and bend, and then people saying, you look really sick, just all pale and not able to. There's so many events, and you know, like with birthdays with the children, and
I bet,
yeah, pretty difficult.
Did you say that you had moved, so you needed to change your GP? Is that how you met Dr. Miles?
Yes, and it was getting to another point which I think can trap people with chronic pain, and particularly when you're on the stronger medications, you're only allowed to have so many at a given time, and then as your body builds up the tolerance, you're often running out, and then you'll go through a mini withdrawal, which is just horrible. And I was just at that point, and I was able to get a doctor's appointment with Dr. Miles, and then yeah, the whole world changed dramatically.
So how did that happen in his 10-minute appointment with you? Or was it 10 minutes?
It was quite a while, and it was quite difficult when we were wearing our face masks, because he wanted to see me, and I think he'd through your training maybe seen a couple of indicators. So then, as we were discussing, we were asking lots of questions about my background, my history, which he'd noted through the medical reports from Heather. And then we started a discussion, and then just a couple of simple words near the end of the conversation: this isn't in your prostate, this isn't there. And I think the manner of Dr. Miles being a very intelligent man and a very passionate man, and that just appealed to me. You know, he was able to break it down, because when he was discussing things, at first I was like, I'm sounding like a kid now, like, but there's a degree of skepticism, but then enough that I've done enough research and reading about things, and I'm open to it. And he suggested further reading and more conversations. But I also liked the time that with my previous doctors for the last 4 years, say, everybody's been like, just give me this medication and go away. That's it.
Not questioning.
So when somebody was looking into the history and looking at other different things that have happened to me, then I think he was able to make a link. So do we talk the horrible things now?
If you would like to, you're welcome to. But it sounds like that first time when he saw you, the fact that he was empathizing with you and saying that your pain is very real, but there's nothing wrong with your prostate, that really resonated with you.
Yes, it was the listening and the way that he said it, because if somebody just said it, you know, if somebody's watching this and they think, oh, a doctor's going to turn to you and say, there's nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with your prostate, that would be, it'd be like, well, there is. How dare you? I'm so insulted. I'm crippled over. I can't sit through pain. But I think it was just the way, you know, with the compassion, but the belief that he was onto something, or could sense that there was a lot more to it. Well, plus I was that desperate. I think I had anything.
Absolutely. So presumably he helped you look at what had triggered it, but as you say, there's history as well. So if you're happy to talk about that, then that's
it's when I was we were talking the mid 1990s, when I was about 15 years old. I was quite a pretty boy, and I think went to a Catholic school, and I think a priest found me rather pretty. And then the thing is, it's quite difficult for me to talk about this, because what's happened is, which might lead on to other things which I haven't discussed with Dr. Miles yet. I discussed this bit, but if you say to me, Saul, what happened? Can you remember your 16th birthday, your 17th birthday, 15th? I've got pictures in my mind, like a memory playing, from maybe to about 14. And then if you imagine one of those old movies when you see the fire burning, go,
Cine film, yes.
Yeah, cine film. And then I can't tell you anything that's happened to me, no memory at all from about 14 till about suddenly it starts up again when I was about mid-17, just, you know,
Once.
cinema term, but almost like what's the word? Amnesia.
Yeah.
Everything just locked. You could give me the world of money. I could not tell you anything. It's
Right.
very weird.
Wow, yes.
So
a real protective response from having to deal with that.
But there were some other interesting things that had happened, because in 2016, in the summertime, when I started with the pain, then later we got to about October, then all of a sudden, so I'm 40 now. No, I was 36 then. Mm-hmm. And they say this can be a key age.
Absolutely.
For development. So, you know, I'm raising my children the best I can. I'm always very highly protective. But then when so I've had a few months of this incredible pain, and we're getting to autumn, and I'm trying my best to keep on going. I'm trying to be working, and I'm working away from home. And then I started to have little flash memories of this priest, and certain things came together, not the whole picture. And then I just looked, and I found that this priest was still in the area, still practicing, or whatever you call it. And ironically, on the website, he was in charge of safeguarding, which
oh dear,
is amazing.
Wow.
So then I'd contacted the police again, because, like, the point of this conversation, it wasn't for any particular gain. I just wanted him away. It was just unbelievable that 25 years later, he's still there.
Absolutely.
And then it started up the investigation. They found all of my old records, and then I was talking to my mother about it, and my mother and brother, it's never spoke about, because they thought that I was deliberately never mentioning anything, not realizing I've got this huge, gaping, I can't.
So they knew about it then?
Yes, so she would be telling me some things which had happened, but then I felt I couldn't mention that to the police because it wasn't my memory. But in the end, it was enough that he was removed from the church, and the police case was closed because there was no evidence, which I can't imagine how you can find evidence. But it was only recently where I've started to understand about the body holding on to things. And then when I'd been trying meditating through pain before I met Dr. Miles, somebody in one of the guided meditations had spoken about holding pain in the pelvis. And I suppose really this is your kind of talking point.
Yes, absolutely. Wow.
And I just was starting to, you know, think, it's just a point where the body says, you're not resolving this. And
so was this before you met Dr. Miles then, Saul?
Yes, this was a few years before.
Wow.
But still, but still the incredible pain, and not on my own. I'd got family, you know, but on my own.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right, because if you haven't heard of Dr. Sarno or heard of this, it's very complex.
Oh, absolutely. It's about, you know, it's all very well saying you could link it to that, but then what do you do about it? And that sounds like you have a missing link.
But that's about the history of abuse. I hadn't made that link until well into conversations with Dr. Miles.
Really?
So it's only the past couple of months when I've gone, oh, you idiot! You know, you've been on edge for the last 25 years, where you know, constantly very wiry personality, because I'd got a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, which I believe is often linked to this. And again, nobody knowing what to do. So I felt like I've been walking alone for the last 25 years with failed marriages and always finding a way to sabotage and destruct and push people away.
No wonder. Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh. And out of interest, have you ever had any psychotherapy in relation to this or not?
I'd had no, I hadn't.
Gosh.
Haven't. But I do feel, because when you start this, I'm quite sure I'm not the only one, that suddenly when things fall into place, I'm getting respect. You know, you start getting self-respect.
Yes.
You start understanding what pride feels like. You know, I'm quite proud of this, instead of just carrying away. And when you start to, your body releasing you, because you started listening to it and listening to your surroundings. And I think I'm not following any particular thread, so I'm sorry if it's getting all confusing.
Fine.
But after the first time of meeting Dr. Miles, and then I think he knew, although I was a bit wild, I've always been quite intelligent, you know, and he gave me plenty of books to research. And I can't remember the title, but this is one which, if it is helping people, I strongly recommend. It's the Dr. John Sarno one.
Yeah.
Is it called A Divided Mind?
Yeah, The Divided Mind.
Yeah. And one of the things that I took away from it, because in it he discusses, he says prostatitis is not something for young men. He discusses the secondary outcome, which I'm quite certain there's lots of people who'll be watching this, and I think this can help them. Because some people can fall into a trap where you get lots of sympathy from friends and family. You might be able to get some financial support.
Yeah.
You might be allowed to not maintain your life. Oh, they've got terrible pain. And then people...
So secondary gain.
Yes, that's the one. Whereas for me, I felt it was why I've been quite successful, because I didn't want this. I just wanted to be free. You know, you want to be able to spend the time with your children. And
out of interest, how old are your children?
Oh, yeah. Daisy, she's 13 and is fantastic. So good. And because I've started exercising, which is completely unreal from just, but I've been taking that,
yes.
Yeah, but I've been taking a boxing with me because I feel it maintains from a young age about listening to yourself. And Logan, who's turned 12 a couple of weeks ago.
Right. Right. And the reason I asked is that sometimes having children triggers memories as well. And having gone through what you've gone through, that potentially could have been could be a trigger. The fact that you wouldn't want anything like that happening to your children.
Yeah, I think there is part of that, but I feel that I was maybe so masked by the BPD side of my personality. I was working so much to try and keep, young family together and things. I think this led a culmination
Mm.
of gradually of the body saying, will you just calm down? Just listen.
Yeah, certainly sounds like it. So how soon did you start noticing a difference physically after that initial session and when you started reading the book?
Okay, mental, right, difficult, because I think we spoke about this a bit earlier. Anybody who's watching this,
Don't do
and
this.
if you feel great, you feel inspired, because I walked out of that office, I've just been listened to, and I'd got enough information to pique my interest and think, right, you know, I'm in a fighting mood. And I was feeling like I was just walking just a little bit.
You're feeling empowered at last.
Yeah.
At last.
And
yeah.
I wish you could see me even at the start of this year. It's not this man. and I made a terrible mistake because I'm so sick of taking tablets and the strong tablets, and I just went cold turkey. Yeah. And Dr. Miles did not tell me to do that. So I just want it completely clear. He's a wonderful man. He's given me back life. I don't want any criticism, because he was very angry, well, not angry, but
I've had that with a client. I think I mentioned this to you as well.
Yeah.
I remember saying to everybody, because he was telling everybody in the group he'd just gone cold turkey. And I remember saying, I did not suggest this at all.
So when I told Dr. Miles the week later, he was like, I didn't tell you that. I did not tell you. He says, wow, but I didn't tell you.
Yes.
But again, I think there might be a point of when people are suffering with chronic pain, you are so sick and broken. You don't want to take a tablet. And if you are reaching that point where your anger is going above your pain, then that is the time to strike and to fight everything.
So what were you like in that week and a week later?
Well, this is where it was difficult to answer your question, because with being on morphine, Oromorph, tramadol, dihydrocodeine, taking about 8 a day for the past 4 years, your body is a mess. And my mum would say, you know, are you addicted to those? And I said, no, because mentally, I don't get any kind of buzz off them. But we soon learned that the body was very addicted. Yeah. So this is where I want people to be inspired, but I want people to be kind to themselves. Yeah.
And gradually, with your doctor's encouragement and support, to gradually come off medication. Yeah.
Because you are ready to fight, you doing more research, you're reading, you think this is possible, you've been trapped in a box for years and you've seen a crack of light, so you're trying desperately. So this is a point where you have to maintain your enthusiasm, but pull it back a bit. Yeah. Because for the 7 weeks, I think it was 6 or 7 weeks of not having the pain medication, as it was leaving, my digestive system was unreal. I cannot express. So I don't want people to feel negative, because the life you will get back is much better. Yeah, yeah. But you have to find ways of amusing yourself and keeping the motivation. Yeah. Because no matter what, there will be some really bad times as your body adjusts. Okay.
If you're doing it suddenly like that, it's
so
you're just doing it gradually.
Yeah. So don't do that. And I feel that was a lot of the support I got from Dr. Miles during this period because of the coronavirus pandemic. It was a lot on the phone, and I believe half of that was the body adjusting, and half of continuing to gradually listen to yourself. But I was having my sleep was hugely affected. It's basically withdrawal, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
like an addict. But at one point I couldn't sleep. And then when you were saying about journaling and things to write, to acknowledge, I believe that you acknowledge things. And it was crazy. I was listening to, this was a breakthrough kind of moment. I was listening to a meditation because I've been trying to get into meditation to manage the pain and to try and relax and sleep. And then they spoke about holding pain in the pelvis. And I was in still a lot of pain, the body all messed up. And I wrote a letter to my pelvis, and it sounds mental.
We encourage it.
Yeah, it worked though.
Yeah.
I got, I wrote down, and I just put it out there because I'd been doing more research, and I realized I hadn't been listening to my body at all with lots of things. And I just wrote, it's insane. I don't have the note anymore, thank God. But just for not listening to the body. And then I did find that I was able to get more relief that night and fall asleep. And I do believe the acknowledgement when your brain feels very separate to your body, and gradually merging it all back together.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know if it's a high point, I don't know what we'd call it, but that was a bit of a turning point.
Certainly an insight that helped you.
And I think then it just started to go from there with constant support. And then suddenly, so at this point, it's maybe 5 weeks after meeting Dr. Miles, and then I'm texting friends saying, "Look, I can walk to the shops," and I'm walking really quickly, which I wasn't, but for me it was.
Yeah. And
it's all these little things that then keep you
inspired to keep going. The wins.
That's it. And I think it's very important that people are going through this to note those wins, but also don't be harsh on yourself for a bad day. I had lots of bad days, but then eventually got to a stage where I could trick myself into saying, okay, yeah, you feel terrible again. You're disappointed because you had a good 2 days and this hadn't happened for 5 years or whatever. But then you say, well, okay, this is the body adjusting. Tomorrow I can have a good day tomorrow. And
so learning from the dips as you gradually
And also, if people are getting better, it's also another thing that I found very difficult. You want to be enthusiastic and tell your friends and family who have supported you through the worst. But then when you have a bad day, you might feel that you're letting these people down, and you can't do that to yourself because they're just happy initially if you've had one good day in months.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I mean, I think you've done incredibly well, Saul. You really have. And I know, when did you start going to the gym? Because you went.
So this is it. It's been, so all this process, I think, happened at mid-March, early April. And I'm bent over and I can't walk, and I've gone massively, a huge amount of weight put on. And then I'd started walking again, just enjoying body work, and you're just happy to be alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting to thrive.
Yeah. And then we went past a gym, which I find highly ironic because I love going there, but the gym's in an old church. So for me to enjoy going there.
So it could easily have been a trigger.
Yeah. But the people there, because you're meeting new people, and it's very good, and I love it because it's a grimy, dirty gym, which most people wouldn't like, but it's just about the strengths. And the people there are lovely, because I walked in with my son, and they're all the absolutely massive, hulking, and my son was intimidated,
Right.
but because he's only little. But they're the nicest people on the planet, and every one of them has offered me so much more support. This has been going from 6 days a week, and now it's part of, I'm itching to go. And then when you're seeing your body changing and lifting more strength, and thinking, I couldn't walk.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
but it proves. So my pelvis was the worst thing in the world, constantly being under so much pressure and so much pain, you know, feeling so weak. But this proves that there was something inside that needed addressing, because last week on these leg press things, I pressed 270 kilograms after 8 weeks. And I went back and looked, that's 45 stone. And, you know, like, then like, this has to be the mind taking over, because it isn't this body.
So nothing has changed as far as your pelvis is concerned. It's the same pelvis that you've had for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes, yeah, just everything. Just so it is more a case of the addressing and finding different ways. And I don't even know what I'm actually doing now to get better, because I think a sense of acknowledgement from Dr. Miles and support was all I needed. It was like I was ready to go.
Yeah.
Because
and then you mentioned earlier when we were chatting that when you're in pain, that's your whole focus, and all you can focus on is the pain, and you can't live your life. Whereas now it looks like your focus now is outward, and but the difference is that you're outward and thriving and living your life and having fun, while also being aware, which you mentioned earlier, of how your body's talking to you, what's actually going on.
Because I was speaking to a friend a couple of weeks ago, it might have been my mum, and I was saying, I feel now I've got the best quality of life before I had, before I got sick. I feel far more like Zen, baby. You know, it's just the whole, like,
so is that mentally and physically you're feeling better? Have people noticed a difference mentally as well as physically?
I think so, because it's crazy, because I don't talk to as many people as I used to, because it was always like, I'm in so much pain, feel sorry for me, you know. And now it's just like, oh, something has happened. And as I said, you know, sometimes I think just talking makes you realize things, because I was discussing earlier, I teach for a Chinese company, and those kids have hard lives, but they're making big changes in the Chinese tutoring section, because the kids, they're getting up at 6 a.m, they're stopping tutoring at 11 p.m, it's no life. But a couple of weeks ago, I had a 30% pay cut, which is a problem, but I didn't experience a chronic pain breakout like I would have been if something was missing from my Tesco order. I would have been keeled over in a pain breakdown. And today I found out that I'll have to find a different country to work for, because they're completely stopping it in a few months. But again, it just seems like things are coming in, and you think, well, I've worked through this, we worked through that. So
completely different mindset and feeling so much more empowered, which is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think before, with that news, I would have been jumping out of the window, running the street naked, having a crazy panic attack and in loads of pain. But now it's like, okay, well, we'll do a bit of research, we'll see what's going on. And then,
do you know what? This has been just such a lovely discussion with you, Saul, and so inspiring. And I have no doubt at all that this is going to help so many people. And I'm really appreciative of you being so open and so keen to actually tell your story and to help other people. So thank you so much.
well, that's it. I'm always more than happy if anybody ever needed to have somebody who's been through it to just listen, because listening,
yes, yeah,
is the thing. I'm more than happy to be contacted if ever it was needed.
You know what? That's lovely for you to say that, Saul, and we'll keep that in the recording. So if anybody does feel that they want to talk to you, they can contact us.
Yes, definitely.
And we could then contact you and see if you're happy for them to be put in touch.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Saul. Fantastic. Thank you.
That's good.